Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching Greenwave TV, alternative media television. It's June 25th, 2013, day 2 at AMTV Studios. This is the Grassroots News Network. Sitting over here with Topher Morrison to the right of me. He'll come on camera in a minute. We want to take your comments and questions today. The title of today's video is Internet Freedom, or has the Internet specifically eradicated our freedom? And what does this new technological world mean to us? You know, we look at people like Edward Snowden, who is on the run, very much a Where's Waldo scenario. What happens next? And that's kind of what I'm curious about. You know, he came out in an interview and just disclosed some pretty heartfelt sentiments. Said, you know what, and I'm paraphrasing this, he says, you know, no matter what happens to me, whether or not I end up in prison for the rest of my life, a lot of people have suggested, I think they're probably right, his life is pretty much destroyed, whether or not he moves and seeks asylum in Ecuador or not. He has very much been Julian Assanged, which should probably be in the Urban Dictionary. A truth teller, a leaker, gets this information out to the public. He gets his eyeballs and his hands on what's really going on behind the scenes at these massive data mining facilities, these billion-dollar companies. They know everything about you, know everything about me, know everything about us before we do. Again, these machines more powerful than the human brain, 1,000 moves ahead of us, if not more, built into this elaborate algorithm. Best chess players in the world quite literally can't beat the machine anymore. That's the environment. So how has this affected our ability to be free people, our ability to have a free society? And I look at things too. I was looking at this earlier today, the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman trial, which has very much been blown out of proportion by President Barack Obama. Yours truly, I remember the tears, you know, said, hey, that Trayvon could have been his son. And they always want to blast you know, the news wires with, you know, Trayvon Martin was just a nice kid. He just had his pack of Skittles and his iced tea. They don't want to show us the other images of him or tell us the other part of the story where he was stealing jewelry and had been expelled from school. You know, they don't paint that picture, but they're going to just racially divide us right down the middle. That's the nation we have. But think about the picture and the narrative that this system, this algorithm can now paint when, let's say, the NSA or the CIA wants to get rid of you. Let's say they decide, you know what, we're going to Andrew Breitbart your ass. And they get rid of it. You know what, Michael Hastings, you're onto something a little bit too big. So you know what, you'll conveniently crash into a tree, your engine will fly out of your Mercedes-Benz. We may or may not remote control your car into that tree going 100 plus miles per hour, destroy your life. You'll go into a ball of flames. You'll have to check your dental records to see what really happened. I'm here with Topher Morrison, AMTV News. In fact, he's working on a great broadcast and post-production as we speak. Saw him shoot that today. He's doing some accents, some Russian Vladimir Putin accents.
I don't necessarily know if I have that exactly down. Pertaining to Vladimir Putin, it seems like I've actually never heard the guy talk. So I think he speaks. Does he even speak English?
No, I think he just kind of stares you down.
I think that's his shtick. Is just, you know, hardcore KGB agent that really has nothing to do with being human at all. You always see him in these austere photos. He looks very scary.
To me, the Russian president pretty much exemplifies what power is. And there was a story we've talked about how he took the ring off Robert Kraft, you know, the billionaire of the New England Patriots, said, hey, you know, let me take a look. Takes the ring off the guy's finger, says, you know what, I could kill somebody with this. And then he takes it for himself. You know, it's funny that we have a civilized society at all, that there's order or law to any of this, because it's really the biggest guy, the biggest animal in the woods is either going to kill you or is going to make use of you or have his way with you. I mean, that's kind of how the world works. Would you not agree?
Yeah, dog eat dog. That's what they always say, right? I just find it amazing that Putin even likes football. I mean, what is the Russian national sport? You know, if you look over the past 100 years, I guess it's killing your own citizens. I'm not sure if I should say that, but
well, to me, that's really telling too. I mean, here we have Russia, we have communist China providing. They're the ones that are having to step in and provide daylight for Snowden, who is a guy who should be embraced by the American people. I mean, the American people should be embracing him. They should be embracing Julian Assange. I mean, these are the people, the few people that seem to care about liberty, freedom,
for the most part,
press.
they are. For the most part, if you polls have come out, they said that most Americans view Edward Snowden as a patriot rather than a traitor. And then, of course, there's two extremes right there. But that really speaks to how we contextualize and how we view reality. It's just, is it black and white? Are there no nuances anymore? I mean, I'm sure Edward Snowden has his own selfish reasons for what he's doing. I'm sure there's a little bit of limelight involved with those decisions behind coming out. I mean, with all of the other whistleblowers, they didn't get any press whatsoever. I don't know if it's after 40 or 50 years old, they just think you're a crazy uncle. You have William Binney. You have all these people that had nowhere near the success Edward Snowden has now and is still enjoying. I'm covering today. Rachel Maddow came out and essentially is calling Edward Snowden a spy, not necessarily a traitor, but a preordained or a forethought spy, that he was actually contracted by China and Russia.
So let me dig into that. I mean, is that possible? I mean, as the independent media, we have to ask the dirty questions. Is it possible? I mean, could he be a spy? Is there any indication for us to maybe believe that? I mean, the first story I reported on, I was kind of, basically, I felt like one of the only people out in the blogosphere just interjecting, like, wait a minute, but before we all jump on, Snowden bandwagon here, let's learn a little bit more about this guy.
Absolutely.
Let's figure out who this guy is. So, I mean, is that possible?
It's possible the sky is going to fall, I guess. Of course it's possible. If you look at how he came out, who he contacted, with what knowledge we know right now, who he contacted, Glenn Greenwald, for example. I mean, the guy is a pretty airtight resume as far as really fighting hard. I mean, word after word after word is always in the face of not only the United States government, but, he's a liberal. He's a self-avowed liberal, and he's going after Obama and the Obama administration at large. So his vociferous opposition is laudable. I think he lends a lot of credibility. I think that's why Greenwald was singled out as the person to leak this information to. Of course, he already went to the Washington Post initially and then to Greenwald. But from the face of it, I mean, this doesn't really help out the National Security Agency. This does not help out, other than to cover up all of the other scandals, to add more
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, obviously, this hurts the Obama administration severely. Yeah. But again, with the compound scandal after scandal, it's almost like the American people tend to lose sight of the real issue. But the question is, what changes? More importantly, what happens next? What happens to Snowden? But what more could he potentially have up his sleeve? I mean, I feel like we've just touched the surface. I mean, everybody knew. We've been reporting on this for years.
Sure.
We cover this with your reports. Yes. I cover them with mine. We know we're being data mined. We know that our emails are being tracked, our cell phones, everything that we do, conversations being listened to. I always joke, people think we put our faces out there, but you're just as much as exposed as we are. You think you have any privacy at home? You're maybe having a private conversation with your wife or husband or significant other. They could very well be listening in if they want to. And who knows what they're going to use it for. We talked about it with the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman case as an example. The NSA and these data mining facilities can build any narrative and paint any picture they want with this kind of sensitive information now. So the bottom line is, who controls this?
Retroactively. They can go back into time, as I've covered a couple times and as many others have covered. The fact that they can store literally your entire existence, like a Facebook timeline from hell or something like that. You can go back and essentially cherry pick, like journalists do, like everyone does, and essentially pick the memories or the events that they feel best espouses or best represents their case. Mm-hmm. And that's the quintessential issue here.
And why is we were talking about this earlier? Why? And I did kind of a heart-throbbing video on it today, very hard-hitting and in your face. I mean, why is it places like Ecuador are now? That's the country of freedom. I mean, that's the home of the brave now. Should I change the flag? Should we put an Ecuadorian flag back here? And should we
absolutely
get in touch with the president, say I want to relocate? Or?
A quote comes to mind in an empire of lies. It's like these guys are. This is super state politics. There's 180 countries around the world. You're seeing the dividing lines. You're seeing literally the repositioning of alliances. We know that the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Council, and the various little organizations in Asia and generally involving Russia, they're creating the new Cold War. Often, we joke about the World War III, coming, and everybody's trying to.
Well, I don't know if it's a joke. I think the American people think of it as a joke, and it can certainly be blown out of proportion and manipulated to sway emotion and stuff. But I think that's the real. I honestly think, my opinion at least personally, is this the Cold War? Is this the the second
Cold War too?
I mean, this is but bigger. I mean,
sure.
We were talking about just what's going on economically, which almost gets pushed to the side outside of what we're getting with Snowden and Michael Hastings.
Well, therein lies the rub. What is if you had a grand scheme, and that is a chessboard. That analogy has been repeated over and over and over again about this is a grand chessboard. Everybody involved here, whether you're in government or in elite society, they have the 30,000 foot view. They know 10 steps down what is going to happen. So with all of these scandals, which most of them, especially with regard to the NSA, we already knew about all of this stuff. So when Edward Snowden goes and stays in China and stays in Russia, continuing, quote unquote, continuing, so he can continue to do his work, what more does he have to offer? We knew about the massive storage facility in Bluffdale, Utah. We've known about this stuff for years.
Was that the gentleman that we ran into at the? Is that someone different at the
When
Republican
we were
National Convention?
at the Republican convention, we ran into Senator Orrin Hatch, and unfortunately, I didn't get him on video, but I found it interesting. This was the gentleman who had, quote, said that the Bluffdale, Utah facility was the largest construction project in military construction project in recent history. So while the rest of the country is going down the tubes, and the construction was started years ago, while the rest of the country is going through a recession, and as I've noted before, the counties surrounding Washington, D.C., and those cherry-picked by powerful senators get massive construction projects, and it employed a lot of people, as the military-industrial complex always does. But now you have sitting there, and there's an excellent stock footage that just shows how massive this thing is, and who knows how deep it goes. God knows we don't get the blueprints, but that's what they're building out there. They're building a new Pentagon West. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's pretty amazing. And what's been exposed, we knew it was happening, but what the story is now the American people kind of have to, they have to kind of fess up to the reality now. It's coming out of your sleepy doldrums and being really hit across the face. Like, look, this is happening. This is real. This technology comes with a price, and that's what I think we all know instinctually. It's why we're all instinctually fearful in a lot of respect. I put out the documentary Surveillance State, which we're still waiting to hear on. We submitted to the InfoWars video contest. But, I mean, people are already instinctually, I think, aware and frightened of technology if it's used, in a malintentioned way. I just saw a movie with friends over the weekend, saw World War Z, another zombie flick featuring
And I saw Superman. I mean, both of them, I feel like from what you told me and what I told you, it's like, as you've said, the CGI guys get the Academy, the actors and the writers and the directors. I'm not sure. We're just watching rehashed versions of Transformers 1, 2, and 3 with different characters involved. And
a lot of the main themes I see in the movies have to do with not just the threat of technology, but the threat of this kind of overpopulation and, the diseases spreading and kind of these deeply ingrained primal fears of be fearful of technology, be fearful of too many people, we were discussing yesterday. I get almost claustrophobic going back to California, my home state, visiting friends and family, just thinking about, man, when this grid goes down, you're in trouble over here. I mean, we're going to be in trouble in other states, but can you imagine being, in the city of Los Angeles or in the New York City or Boston or one of these places? I mean, you're shit out of luck. I mean, bottom line.
That is the big fear is that that classic representation of what is called in prepper speak the golden horde. After a certain amount of time, you just have this remnant, which is an interesting and very biblically loaded vocabulary, but a remnant of what used to be. And as they roam the countryside in groups, taking food and taking women, it's just pandemonium. I couldn't imagine that. But going back to Snowden, is this moment where all of these scandals come out, is it a form of catharsis? Is it maybe a blow-off valve that, we're all faced with it? Webster Griffin Tarpley has come out with an article alluding to the fact that, and it's his favorite thing, the partial hangout operation, kind of an extension of what Tarpley believes the WikiLeaks program to be. And a lot of the previous revelations, quote unquote, really weren't all that damning. I mean, there wasn't.
Now, Tarpley, just so the audience knows, and they might know as well, they can throw it in the comment section. But did Tarpley come out? He thinks that Snowden is a CIA asset. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
Well, again, there's many ways you can do it. There's many ways that an asset can be deployed. The specifics on it, I'd have to go through it a little bit more. And he has a couple articles on it, a couple of interviews that he's given on that topic. Very interesting. But again, I think it's one of those things where, everything could be potentially a conspiracy. And as we know, most events in this world are. I mean,
I think that's important. And good point. I mean, and we talk about this. Not everything is a conspiracy, but a lot of what we're investigating and reporting, we've got to go and give truth the benefit of the doubt. That's what we're seeking. Yeah. When we look at cases, I look at cases like Michael Hastings. I mean, that's about the dirtiest, most suspicious case I've seen in recent memory outside of Breitbart.
We talked about this, that and a caller called into a radio show that I listen to often, and he had actually talked with some of the technical experts on Mercedes-Benz, and he just gave a couple of photos and showed the video to these experts, these technicians, on how exactly would you find a burning ball of gas and smoke? I mean, would you find this out of a car crash? I mean, even if you're going 150 miles an hour, push that Mercedes-Benz to its max and rammed into a brick wall, would it create molten hot magma, spewing out all over the place? There's something about cars that actually are created to crumple zones. I mean, this kind of technology has been advanced. I mean, unless you're driving a 1976 Pinto, you're not going to explode on impact. It just doesn't happen anymore. You never see that. How many accidents have you seen on the freeway? I've seen tons of them. I've seen people in Arizona. We live in Arizona. The worst drivers in the universe, next to Beijing, China. They're horrible. Don't go there. You can't possibly turn your car. Otherwise, terrorists would have no reason for planes. They wouldn't be running them into buildings. They would have just taken a bunch of cars and done it.
We talk about scenarios. I mean, some of the most damning part of that story is the email that he sends out to friends and colleagues saying, hey, I'm onto a big story. I got to watch my back. He's seeking legal counsel from the WikiLeaks attorney days before his death. And then here we have his footage, the explosion. A lot of that doesn't add up. The fire, the engine, completely dismounting from the car.
Yeah, just doesn't happen. Does not happen.
So scenarios. What the scenarios that we've been over a little bit are. Was it a drone strike? Was it
too public? I don't think it is. It's a deep state event. Something that we cannot prove right now. That down the road, more and more info will come out. People will come out. Theories will come out that piece together what is now a broken puzzle, but it will slowly come out over time that how this in fact may have been done. And mind you, this happens every day practically. That's hyperbole, but this happens often in places like Iran.
Yeah,
you know, where a guy will come up in his little scooter and slap a bomb on you, take off, and the next thing you know, you're a cinder block. I mean, it's...
Yeah, for people not to, people know, they hear of it, happening overseas, but say, wait, this can't happen in the United States. It's clearly not true. Again, Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart, another classic case, in my opinion, his coroner lacked right before he's coming out with the coroner report on the body. So here we have another situation. I agree with you. History will point the direction of the truth. I think it will be exposed.
Absolutely.
It's important not to forget the loss of life. I mean, what an awesome journalist Michael Hastings was. I mean, you look at guys like Greenwald, too. I mean, is he going to stick around? Who knows? I mean, this is the environment we're living in today. It's very scary, and it's very telling looking at nations like China and Russia, et cetera, and this is very much a Cold War environment, manipulating the press, really kind of bitch-slapping President Barack Obama across the face, which personally I kind of like. I think that's, maybe a smart move. Maybe the American people need to fight back a little bit, demand their freedom, their liberty, demand that these things don't happen, and that, we have some control over this technology that is ruling and dominating our lives, a lot of it for profit. I mean, we look at great companies like Google, which obviously I think is a great enterprise. Look how it's brought down the barriers, the cost barriers, so we can get information out, have these discussions, et cetera. But here we have a monopoly,
it's a two-way street,
grossly intertwined with the federal government now, where hands are in the pockets. I'm sure that the Google founders have a lot of pressure on their backs from the president himself, Obama's handlers. What does this mean for our society? Have we literally given up all of our personal freedom now so that we can play Angry Birds? And honestly, at times it feels that way.
Again, I would have to harken back to kind of what I mentioned just a few moments ago, with this being just it's a stress blow-off valve that we all can just get it out. We can have the debate. Just having the biggest thing, and I was in the hospitality industry. The biggest thing when you had a complaint, when somebody was upset about their food, about anything in the restaurant, you get up to them and you ask, they want to be heard. And that's what the American public right now, we're having a massive debate. But as you can already see, many of the stations, CNN and even Fox and a lot of these mainstream media outlets are already moving past. This is not an alive story. This story is almost dead. All you have right now is a man hunt worldwide, and it looks like he's taken respites for a little while in China and now Russia, and I'm sure he'll move on to somewhere else. But yeah, that's the thing. We got to have our little debate, our public debate about it, and they're going to continue moving on business as usual.
Yeah, and and the story will be glossed over. So, I'm almost sitting on, or standing on pins and needles, wanting to know what develops next. We're trying to source as much information as we can. We'd also, if you guys like the show, you like the live broadcasts, let us know, give us some feedback. We'd like to do more of these. Also, we're looking for the comment section. We can't find it, so if you could, send us an email at info@amtvmedia.com. Let us know how you're actually getting tuned in to the show, because I want to go to your comments.
Where are
right
you?
Now. We can't find it.
Where are you?
We can't find our comment section. Is anybody there? Are you watching? Please continue to also send tips to our tip line anonymously. Tips at amtvmedia.com. If you have any source material you think needs to be exposed, we will, of course, take a serious look at it, vet it, source it, etc.
We are the hungry hippos of info. So please send us your nuggets of truth and knowledge.
That's right. We really appreciate it. I'm Christopher Green, hard-hitting in your face. Topher Morrison over here to my right.
Absolutely.
Got a couple great reports coming out next. Stay tuned. Make sure to get all of our content out to the web. Subscribe to us on YouTube at cgreen34 if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook. We really need your support there. So go over there right now. You want to know how you can help? Click the like button. It's a big help in terms of getting our content. Seriously. We were talking about this earlier. And follow both of us on Twitter, him at AMTV News, me at Greenwave. Get it out there, and we'll keep you up to date on the latest reports.